AITA for saying I don't care about making things better. I 16 female live with my dad and his family. My mom died last year. I was raised mostly by her for 10 years because when I was 5 she and my dad broke up, and he moved across country to be with his now wife. I only know this because it's pretty coincidental that he left the state and moved in with her very fast considering the move happened mere weeks after he moved out of mine and my mom's. Maybe I'm wrong but I was never dumb. It's clear he left to be with his current wife. I saw him for 3 weeks in the summer and every other spring break until I moved in after my mom died. I've gotta be honest, I didn't want to move. I wanted to move in with my grandparents who still live in my home state but my dad insisted I needed to live with family so now I live with him and his wife plus her 2 kids and their 3 kids together. My stepsister is the same age as me and she's upset I don't call her my sister because she always called me her sister and she fights me on it, which my dad gets involved in. He has tried to get me to accept the family more now than ever. I have told him I'm not interested and I just want to go home. Because I didn't adjust in the last 11 months he wants us to do family therapy. I have told him I'm just not interested. He said it's not fair to push everyone away. I told him he was the one who left when I was 5 and that none of them were exactly my family because they were mostly strangers up until I moved in and honestly my dad has been mostly a stranger. I stayed with him so little and had such little communication with him. I don't care about having a better relationship. I would rather be home with the family I know, who were willing and able to take me. I would still have my friends around me too. My dad got mad the other night because he told me he had booked a session and my response was okay. He told me he wants me to help make things better in the family. I told him I don't care about making things better because I don't think of us as a family. I lost my nuclear family. I know we're supposed to be grateful for who we have and all that crap, but they have never felt like my family, not even my dad. I barely remember when he lived with us, barely remember seeing him more than once or twice a year and I don't need or want him. At AITA, my mom never said a bad word about my dad. She never discouraged the relationship. But after a point I did grow tired of going out to see strangers. I had no real relationship with my dad. And to put it into perspective I asked him to move back home closer to me basically when I was maybe 8. And he told me he couldn't leave his family. So no, I don't care about having a relationship with him. I want out. I am willing to do whatever to get out. But we will never be a family. More added info in a kinda update. It's late, so I'm not replying to everyone. Plus there is a lot of you, and I do appreciate that like a lot. I asked my dad about individual therapy like many of you suggested, and he said no. He said it would not help if he and the others weren't involved, so there's that. I also never went along with living here, but I was given no choice. My grandparents tried, and I know they spoke to the woman, social worker who told me I needed to live with him because he is my father and my parent blah blah blah. I made it very clear I did not want to live with him but that held no weight with the decision. Story 2. AITA for telling my biological parents that I don't care for them and never will after my adoptive parents passed away. I'm a teenage boy in senior year of high school. My bio mom and dad gave me away as a toddler when they were extremely poor to make their raising of my sisters, their 3 daughters, easier. Great form from the people who should love you like no other, right? I lived with my lovely adoptive parents, an elderly couple, from ages 6 to 16 until they died weeks apart from each other. After my adoptive mom and dad both passed away, I had to go back to the same kids' shelter for a few months. The shelter had already been in contact with my bio parents about potentially taking me back but there were conditions. We had to simulate living together for a few weeks. If that was successful, I could stay with them longer until I left high school, entered the workforce or began tertiary study and had enough cash from part-time work. I've been living with my bio parents and my sisters for over a year, and I'm nearly 18. I really don't like the group of them. They see me as a nuisance or some sort of troublemaker, given my self-reliance and tendency to stick to myself and my friends. They are blatant in treating my older sisters, who are in their 20s, better than I. My mom and dad give them a monthly allowance on top of the welfare allowance they already get for their studies, drive them to and from college, pay more attention to them and just treat them better than me, their 4th child. They don't give me an allowance even though they clearly can, nor do they spend that much time with me. I've pointed out the unfairness to them and they deny they love their daughters more than me. They say it's equal, and that I simply don't demand more from them, which they apparently love about me. But I've realized long ago that they're lying. They don't see much hope in a waste of time like me. They even called me that when I told them I wanted to work in construction after doing hands-on training, in comparison to my sisters who are lawyers and doctors to be. Over time, I've stopped participating in house duties, started and am preparing to move out to live with friends, packing and everything. I'm nearly an adult. My parents have noticed this, as have my sisters, and have grilled me on it one evening when I was packing my clothes, so I simply told them I know they see me as a mistake of theirs and am moving out to stay out of their lives. They asked me what I was talking about, and I just couldn't take their faking it anymore, so I told them that I know they didn't care that much for me, and I don't care for any of them either, and I never will anymore. My mother burst into tears, my sisters just scoffed and rolled their eyes, and my dad yelled at me to apologize to all 5 of them, but I couldn't look at them anymore, so I just went to another room to cool off. It's been a few days now and I'm itching to get out of there, but I'm thinking it might be childish of me to do this. AITA for saying what I said to my biological parents about my lack of love for them. Story 3. AITA for refusing to pay for my dad's retirement home fees. My parents divorced when I was a baby, but my mom encouraged him to have a good relationship with me. However, my dad was never interested in that. He'd come see me for a few hours on the weekends and call it a day. He wasn't a constant in my life, but I liked him and enjoyed his visits. He remarried shortly after his divorce and had 2 more kids that I would play with occasionally. As I was growing up, he and I had arguments about how he'd treat my siblings and how he treated me. My dad adored his other kids and he'd take them on trips, go to their school events and pay for whatever they needed. I invited him to all my school plays, graduations, etc. He never came. I won't lie, it hurt. I was his first child and he didn't seem interested in me. Plus, he was very vocal about his dislike towards my mom, something that I hated because she was the one taking care of me. When I went to college, he agreed to pay half of the expenses. I was thankful for this, and I thanked him each time he'd send a check. He came to my graduation ceremony, and when it was over said that his responsibilities towards me were over and he didn't owe me anything anymore. He didn't need to say it, but it was a goodbye. It broke my heart. He didn't return my calls or reached out to me in the following years. Yesterday I received a call from my brother telling me that my dad's health had deteriorated and the best option for him would be a retirement home. His second wife divorced him too. My dad is on the older side, so I wasn't surprised. My brother spent like half an hour on the phone describing this place that would cover his needs, make him comfortable. Turns out this place is expensive as hell and he wants us to pay for his stay there. Monthly I'd be paying around $2, so would my siblings. I told him I couldn't afford to pay that amount monthly, much less during a pandemic. He didn't take it well, and shortly after I received a call from my sis demanding an explanation. I told her that I didn't make enough money to support myself and pay my share for his stay in the home, to which she said that I was ridiculous because I wasn't married nor had any kids. So basically, where was all my money going then? I told them that we could look into other retirement homes or hire a nurse. But apparently I'm being cruel and ungrateful because our dad deserves the best care he can get and the home is convenient for all us, close enough to our own houses so we can visit him or be there in case of an emergency. I told them that if they were not going to make an effort and look into other options, then I wouldn't either, and I wouldn't pay my share. Before I hung up, my sister told me she'd sue me for negligence. Like, WTF. I don't know how to feel about all of this. He did pay for half of my college tuition, but he was a detached parent who made it very clear that I was more of an economic burden than a child he loved. Am I being ungrateful? Should I suck it up and pay? AITA.